So the artist that inspired me was Leonid Afremov. I fell in love with his story because he paints with colors that makes you feel like there's a tree, there's an ocean, there's happiness, there's sadness. Before doing anything, I actually got red string, sprayed it with black hair dye, which gave it like a mossy kind of shade. To get maximum space on the face, it's always best to make sure all the hair is kind of away from the face. Just using the glue stick, using the spoolie, slowly brushing the hairs up, bake the brows, make them disappear, foundation over it, some powder. And it's really important just to conversate with your model so she's comfortable and confident with you. I like to work brow to brow, so then I give enough time for each brow to dry enough for me to go in with another layer. And now you use the powder to just set the actual wet product. So then that way you've locked the product into the skin. Use a white pencil to map out where roughly I want things to go. Every face is different, and when you do this kind of technique, it gives you a future reference. If you don't pre-plan how you're going to actually do everything, you'll have to almost trace back your steps instead of moving forward. This way, it just helps to map everything out, and mentally, you know how to do things. Your mind is organized. I used an aqua base, and I'm laying that down first. The technique that I'll be using, there will be gaps in her skin. However, I don't want it to look like skin. And using an aqua base, that dries really, really fast. I'm literally just blocking out her entire face. So the artist I chose, he does his artwork with oil paints and he uses a palette knife. So I wanted to create the texture of an oil paint with cream paints. So where I just switched it on, it'll be a flat product. So then I have to go in and kind of like build that oil texture onto the skin. You can see I started on the outside of the face and I'm working in. So usually the oily parts of the face is on the T-zone, and I avoided that straight away. When you're using oil paints on skin, you have to be very careful because if she gets too hot, it will melt. That's why I use the aqua paint underneath. So there's almost like a barrier. It's almost like the primer to your foundation. So here I'm building color. So although I'm using all the different color paints, I'm actually still using the same technique. Using some prose on the skin, I've actually used the string to create lining work, and that line work represents the tree trunk. Pre-planning where you would roughly leave the strings will give you a guidance of where you need to leave some space. So here I'm using solid black paint to create the branches on top of all the oil paints that I've actually just laid on. I gelled her hair back just to give some wet look. And here I'm using hair color spray, and I'm spraying randomly areas that kind of replicate the paint that's on the face. For me, the colors that I chose and how I kind of place the colors, when you see it, your eyes will pick up something, whether it's the white, whether it's the blue, whether it's the pink, whether it's the yellow. And that's just a reflection on how you feel at that moment.